G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Young from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now on Friday the 12th of August 2022, John Barilaro, former Deputy Premier New South Wales, was meant to show up to an inquiry, a New South Wales Parliament inquiry, into his dodgy appointment to a $500,000 New York government job. And he failed to turn up, and his justification for not showing up was that he's got mental health problems. And he's gotten support from the Bronwyn Taylor, who was a member of the Angus Taylor crime family, literally a crime family. We all know Angus Taylor is up to his neck in corruption, funneled $80 million from government coffers, federal government coffers, into a company that he set up. About 50 million or more of that was sent over to the Cayman Islands, a company he set up in the Cayman Islands. Barnaby Joyce said in a radio interview once that he believed it went to a family trust. They were the ultimate beneficiaries in the Cayman Islands, but he never expanded on that. Back to John Barilaro. On Friday, Bronwyn Taylor, who's a New South Wales politician, she's part of the upper house, she gave a press conference, or she didn't give a press conference, it was actually the New South Wales Premier, Dominic Perrottet, who held the press conference, and she went with him. And when it came to a question about John Barilaro, she answered. So let's have a listen to what she had to say.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to take that question, and with all the questions being asked about women, I am the most senior female in the New South Wales government, and I will take this question. I spoke to John Barilaro this morning. He is a friend, but he is not up to attending the inquiry today. He's been very open and very honest about his struggles with mental health. Very open. And as the Minister for Mental Health in New South Wales, that's something that we always encourage people to do. We encourage them to speak openly and to speak up and to ask for help when they need it. This constant attention on him waiting 3 weeks until he was able to give his side of a story and an inquiry. I say to you, and I say to anyone out there, how would that make you feel? And how do you think you would manage with that? So I respectfully say to everyone, he has been very honest and very open, and he has put his case forward. He deserves correct process. He deserves independence. And anybody that is involved in any inquiry deserves respectful behaviour.
Last question.
What part of the inquiry process has not been respectful in relation to John Barilaro, and did he indicate to you when you spoke to him that you would be happy to appear at a later hearing?
He did, but he is seeking the help that he requires so that he can be as helpful as he can. He gave extensive evidence this week, extensive evidence. He said from the beginning that he was happy to appear. It took 3 weeks for him to be called to give evidence in that inquiry. He has been very open and very honest about his mental health. He has said today that he is not up to attending, and I would ask everybody to respect that for himself and for his family.
Thanks, everyone.
Now that was Bronwyn Taylor on Friday, the 12th of August, a few hours after John Barilaro was meant to show up to answer questions. And as Bronwyn Taylor said, she had spoken to John Barilaro that morning. I suspect her advice was, look, John, don't show up. You're in a lot of trouble. Your lies are being exposed everywhere. And if you go down, you might take us down with you. And what I mean by us, I'm talking about Bronwyn Taylor and Angus Taylor and the rest of the family. Bronwyn Taylor's married to Duncan Taylor, Angus Taylor's brother. And I'm going to read you out a couple of articles in a second from a couple of years ago. Well, one was from about 12 months ago, one was from about 2 years ago. And when you read those articles or have an idea of what's in them, you're going to see that Bronwyn Taylor is up to her neck in the corruption with John Barilaro. So when she had that press conference a few days ago on Friday, and she's defending John Barilaro. She knows if he goes down, they potentially go down. Well, she potentially goes down with him, and so does her husband and also her brother-in-law, federal MP Angus Taylor. Now I'll read you out those two articles now, and I'll just read out the heading and then first few paragraphs, and you can get an indication what's out there in the media in relation to Bronwyn Taylor and John Barilaro and why they're so tight and why she was so forceful in trying to defend him on Friday with absolute garbage she was speaking. Now in June 2021 an article was published in The Guardian and the title is "This Does Not Sit Well, Public Servant Raises Questions Over John Barilaro Funding Request." And it starts off, a senior New South Wales public servant recorded serious concerns about a $50,000 payment to an agricultural cooperative associated with Angus Taylor's family. After he was told the payment had been directed by the New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro and should be disguised as a contract payment. The payment to Monaro Farming Systems was made after January 2021 and was the latest of more than $800,000 in grants to the group made from state and federal coffers since 2015. MFS is a farming research cooperative that was established by Richard Taylor, who was a brother of Federal Energy Minister Angus Taylor, and the brother-in-law of New South Wales Nationals MP Bronwyn Taylor. Until 2019, Richard was the chair of MFS. Bronnie Taylor, as she's sometimes known, is closely aligned with Barilaro and the New South Wales Nationals and served as his parliamentary secretary. The Taylor family are major shareholders in the Monaro and stand to benefit from the output of MFS, which conducts research on how to improve farming practices in Monaro. There's no suggestion that any member of the Taylor family were involved in lobbying for or aware of the grant in question. I'm concerned about the nature of this agreement, the bureaucrat wrote, after he was told to make it look like a contractual payment for services rather than a grant. I'm concerned about the ethics of this. Is it favouritism? Is it bribery? This does not sit well with me. Would I be complicit? I need to discuss. Now the second article was published in March 2020 and starts off, New South Wales Nationals Deputy Bronwyn Taylor notified instantly of $8 million grant to husband's organisation. The Deputy Leader of the New South Wales Nationals was notified within minutes of an $8 million grant being approved to an organisation run by her husband, and well before it was made public, despite telling Parliament she had no involvement in the grant process. Bronwyn Taylor, who maintained she had no influence over the process, was asked a number of questions in Estimates Committee on Thursday about the Country University Centres program, which received $16 million funding from the state government. The program also received a further funding from the federal government. Bronwyn Taylor's husband, Duncan Taylor, was chairperson of the organisation, applied for the grant, and later became the CEO. Duncan Taylor is the brother of Federal Energy Minister Angus Taylor. Louise Clegg, Angus Taylor's wife, is also on the board of the centre in Goulburn. The Country University Centre now run several centres for regional areas, which provide a study hub for students in regional areas. And it goes on to say, later down in the article, Bronwyn Taylor has told Parliament that she played no part in the grant process, but emails obtained by Labor through a call of papers reveal that she was notified by the Nationals leader John Barilaro's office within minutes of the grant being approved in March 2017. Now they're just two articles that I found. If you do a search for Bronwyn Taylor and John Barilaro, or sometimes she uses the name Bronnie Taylor, you're going to find a number of articles, mostly by The Guardian, with strong links you'll see between John Barilaro, Bronwyn Taylor, Angus Taylor, and some of it allude to bribery, fraud, theft. John Barilaro telling a public servant to disguise a $50,000 payment to an organisation associated with Bronwyn Taylor and also Angus Taylor. You know, raises huge concerns, doesn't it? So once you have an idea of what's in those articles, or you're aware of the background, Bronwyn Taylor's background and her involvement with John Barilaro, etc., and her husband and her brother-in-law, Angus Taylor, you know what she said on Friday defending John Barilaro was absolutely scandalous. She shouldn't have been anywhere near defending him. Now that press conference was set up by the Premier, Dominic Perrottet. It was his press conference. And and he would know how disgusting it was for Bronwyn Taylor to be answering that sort of question, saying what she did, saying to the public, oh, imagine if you were in his position and it was you. Oh, it makes you sick, doesn't it? She has got a lot of skin in the game. If John Barilaro goes down, so potentially does she. There's ICAC inquiries meant to be into some of the John Barilaro's and Angus Taylor's corruption, which would obviously have links back to her. She'd likely be called as a witness. So she should be nowhere near answering questions in relation to John Barilaro or using the media to defend him. If she's going to do that, the media who are running her scandalous comments should be pointing out that she's got skin in the game with John Barilaro, her husband Duncan Taylor, and her brother-in-law Angus Taylor. It's absolutely putrid that she gets away with saying what she did. She's got no shame, no self-respect. She's no better than John Barilaro. She would have practiced that comment she made on Friday, or that spiel she spun out for the media on Friday. She would probably practice it 5 or 10 times. Imagine if it was you, she said, and you were in that position. Well, I wouldn't be in that position. I don't think too many people would, because I don't believe there's too many people that is badly corrupted as John Barilaro, except for maybe her and brother-in-law Angus Taylor, I suppose. Other than that, please share this video on Facebook, Twitter, etc. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video if you liked it. And if you visit my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, I've set up a John Barilaro page with a lot of background information. If you read all that information, you'll understand why he didn't show up on Friday. You can subscribe to my website, and every time I publish a new article, you get an email letting you know there's a new article that'll be read. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.